War is a racket. It always has been. It is possibly the oldest, easily the most profitable, surely the most vicious. It is the only one in which the profits are reckoned in dollars and the losses in lives. A racket is best described, I believe, as something that is not what it seems to the majority of people. Conflict is a regrettable business. Most people do not want to be part of it. Sometimes even governments do not want to be part of it. For years, India has maintained independent relations with both the US and Russia. However, the times are changing. China casts a shadow over the continent. Russia makes efforts for a multipolar order. America wants to preserve its dominance, and the war in Ukraine pushes everyone to pick sides. In this complex, ever changing economy, India is trying to set itself apart from the competition and place its claim in global affairs. Still, it finds itself squeezed in between two partners. On one side is Russia, an unparalleled source of military equipment and technology transfers. The other side is America, an important ally in containing the Chinese power in Asia Pacific. However, as its partners compete over influence and power, India faces a test. Can it strike a balance between the bear and the eagle? And if not, which way will it tilt? Let's discuss. India and China are the two superpowers of Asia. This area has more people living inside than outside. There are more Hindus, Buddhists, Muslims, and communists living inside than outside. Though, ironically, this sphere also holds the least sparse populated country on earth, Mongolia. It is an overwhelming place and it raises a lot of doubts. All politics is local. Even international politics, the border in between merely represents a dividing line between two communities that see the world differently. India has had a long strategic bond with Russia and the Soviet Union before it. It is a relationship forged by calculated strategic needs at both global and regional levels. During the Cold War, New Delhi's anti-colonial view synchronized with that of Soviet policymakers who were searching for new allies in Asia. The Americans were doing the exactly same, and when they sided with Pakistan in 1950s, India's decision to team up with the Soviet Union was made all the more easier. As such, New Delhi developed strategic relations with Moscow to equilibrate the US military assistance to Pakistan. The Soviets delivered arms to India and vetoed Kashmir-related issues in United Nations Security Council. It was essential support at the crucial time so much, and India will never forget it. So that even after the fall of Soviet Union and the newly established Russian Federation remained India's leading international partner, and there was no reason for change at the time. The Clinton administration held an antagonistic posture towards India, still backing Pakistan on the Kashmir dispute and calling for India to roll back its nuclear and missile programs. In response, New Delhi confined its bet and kept close to Moscow. In fact, Russian-Indian relations strengthened as India came to rely on Russian weaponry. But global politics is shifting in dramatic and unexpected ways. Right across the Himalayas, China looms large since the dawn of the 1000 years. Its economic, diplomatic, and military reach has grown beyond India's capacity to compete. Beijing and New Delhi have fallen at odds over strategic terrain, monetary policy, etc. China's rapid advance drove President Bush and later President Obama to fine-tune America's relationship with India by overcoming past disagreements over Kashmir and India's nuclear arsenal. Yet it was President Trump who proposed to place India at the heart of Washington's new Asia-Pacific strategy, a policy reflected in the quadrilateral security dialogue that includes the United States, India, Japan, and Australia. By and of itself, India has grown strikingly closer to the United States in the past 2 decades. But that same reapproachment has upset New Delhi's dealings with Moscow. The Russians, for their part, are aware that the growing conflict between India and China has poked the Indian leadership towards the United States. So, to remedy the situation, the Russians have suggested using the BRICS forum to encourage confidence building. But the proposal is too little too late. Ever since India's partnership with the United States, Quad has replaced the BRICS association. The truth is that the deadlock between India and China cannot be overcome by confidence building. It is a geostrategic dispute, and deeply so. In this complex equation, India is trying to set itself apart from competition and stake its own claim in global affairs. One bargain that hangs above the trilateral actions is the S-400 deal. As part of its military cooperation with Russia, India has been looking to upgrade its missile defense shield. In October 2018, Russia and India signed an agreement for the supply of 5 S-400 batteries. A deal worth over $5.5 billion. India received its first batch of anti-air missile system in November 2021. But the S-400 position has raised the risk of sanctions. US is not happy with S-400 deal. It has repeatedly warned that any country that uses the S-400 system would be subjected to sanction under the CATSA bill. The state of play is testing the diplomatical skills of Indian policymakers in balancing ties between Russia and US. And even though India has titled towards the United States in the last 20 years, and the majority of India's military equipment originates from Russia, about 70% in fact. Reducing that number is difficult. Some systems are deeply tied into India's existing armaments. The Indian Armed Forces is so immensely assimilated into Russian-based military systems that it is technically difficult to make use of non-Russian weaponry. However, to alleviate the S-400 deal, the Russians recently offered the India their very latest anti-air missile defense system, the S-550. For reference, the S-550 is a brand new yet largely unknown unit. New deals are still emerging as this writing. It is hypothesized to be a strategic missile defense system capable of hitting spacecraft, ballistic missile, re-entry vehicles, and hypersonic targets at altitudes of tens of thousands of kilometers. So the S-550 is a new class of weaponry, one meant for defense in space. It is precisely the stuff India needs to build its next generation missile defense shield. All the same, US officials have repeatedly warned that the CATSA bill will apply to India should the S-400 missile system, let alone the S-550, become functioning. The CATSA bill mandates the US government to impose financial sanctions and travel bans on any country transacting important defense or intelligence deals with Russia, Iran, or North Korea. The sanctions would include cancelling or blocking sales of licensed goods and technologies, but also stopping credit lines from the United States, banning banks, manufacturers, suppliers, and property transactions from the sanctioned countries. Under such pressure, international trade becomes extremely difficult, which is the whole point. So while Washington is constant to sanction India, but the sanctions come at a determining moment in the time when America is trying to reinvent the quadrilateral security dialogue to set off a containment belt around China. However, coercion through sanctions doesn't always perform as intended. The fact of the matter is that imposing sanctions on India would harm US interests in Asia Pacific, and both sides know it. Prime Minister Modi's demeanor suggests that he is trying to strike a backdoor deal by using India's strategic leverages to pursue his counterpart Biden to waive Karzai's sanctions. For instance, in September 2021, India permitted an American maritime patrol aircraft to refuel from the Indian base in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, an advancement in joint operations. Meanwhile, a series of recently signed defense agreements look to improve India's military ties with America through joint naval patrols, military deals, intelligence sharing, etc. New Delhi is also owing American military contractors by offering to purchase costly systems. The NASAM system by Radiant Technologies at a cost of $1 billion is one such example. India is hoping to employ the loving power of American military contractors to waive sanctions. So Modi is clearly trying to soften Biden's posture. But the efforts are too little. The White House is not having it. From American perspective, a waiver to India may set a contentious precedent. Since everyone is equal before the law, there should be no exceptions. A waiver to India would upset some Americans' partners, where Karzai's sanctions do apply for similar S-400 deals like Turkey. Plus, a waiver might actually encourage other nations to go ahead and sign defense deals with Russia, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Algeria, and United Arab Emirates have suggested as much. So from political angle, Biden's best call is to do nothing and instead delay the sanctions while keeping the threat of Karzai alive. There is very little room for sentimental and statecraft. Policy is drafted with a sense of realism. Despite the looming threat of sanctions, Indian policymakers are not willing to relinquish their long-standing partnership with Russia. If at all possible, the leadership in New Delhi wants to distance itself from global flights, but only to the degree that is not left out entirely. Walking a tightrope between the White House and the Kremlin is a arduous task that requires diplomatic effectiveness and foresight. It is a process that has not been easy, especially since the Ukraine war. As the United Nations, India has so far abstained 5 times from condemning Russia's war in Ukraine, which shows that splendid a balance between its two partners will get increasingly more difficult. Yet this is one difficult situation that India cannot afford to misapprehend. It cannot allow any power to veto its relationship with either the United States or Russian Federation. Permitting either the Russians or the Americans to dictate India's international relations would set a most unforeseeable rule that could backfire down the line. When all is said and done, governments were designed to seek power, yet sometimes their actual condition makes them a servant to the powers of others. So guys, this was for today. Give us your thoughts on this in the comment section, and if you appreciate our content, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Share this video with your family and friends. We will meet soon in a new video. Thank you. Jai Hind.